What is good, Nio family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Nio stock, what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to break down what's going on with the overall market and how this may dictate Nio. Now, before I break anything down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things real quick. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Nio community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 10 to 20 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is any could be a free Nio share, a free Tesla share, or a mix of all of them. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in a week. Check it out before they run out. The offer also gives you the chance to win $60,000. So with that out of the way, let's look at what's going on with Nio. Nio is down about 5% for the day. I did mention to everyone that that we would move depending on PPI and also how the overall market performed. And if you look at Nio on the 5 minutes, just like this, you could see Nio just sold off for almost the entire day and is starting to show some signs of weakness. We also formed a gap up here. However, if we keep selling off, I mean, the first thing you have to note is, yes, we had this gap down here, but also if Nio keeps coming down, all right, we're going to have to try to hold this $12 support zone, because if we break below 12, there's a lot of room for downside. So please be very careful on Nio. So what happened with PPI? This was actually a little bit higher than expected. So the market did actually respond. It actually held up for the majority of the day. So the data didn't really dictate it. But as time went on, we saw another Friday sell-off and we saw SPY come down pretty hard. So I wanted to focus more, I would say less on just like the short term and a little bit more on the longer term on the markets, just real quick. Looking at Nio, it does tend to get affected by the overall market, but I do believe the price price ratio is going to start coming down. And from a seasonality basis, I mean, Mondays tend to be relatively flat for Nio, so I don't expect as much. I think for the future of this market and whether or not Nio gets a big bounce and a big push, it's going to depend next week on what happens with CPI and the FOMC meeting. Those are going to be some of the biggest factors everyone needs to be watching for. So just to break this down, what do I think is going on with this market now? I want to talk a little bit less about like tomorrow or next week or like the super short term and talk a little bit more longer term. All right. Notice this trend on SPY. We get rejected off the top, come down, we bounce, push up a little bit, big drop. That's what happened during the first bear rally. Big rejection, come down, bounce, big drop. Second bear rally. Look at the third bear rally. We got rejected on the top, which is where resistance is, come down, we bounce, continue to come down. All right. Now what's going on right here? We got rejected off the top, we come down, we bounced a little bit and we're starting to come down just a bit. I believe there are two main possibilities in this market. Possibility number one is we just crash from here. The market starts coming down. CPI is higher than expected. The Fed is more hawkish, even if they're not even as hawkish, because we already expect 50 basis points. The market could still drop off that. We could just start bleeding from here as time goes on. And there are many signs pointing at the market coming down very soon. However, it's also possible that CPI pushes us up and the market retests 400. This like bounce continues just a little bit more before the next big drop. Either way, I do anticipate a drop over the next couple of weeks. All right, I want to show you guys exactly why. I'm not saying it has to happen immediately. It could happen immediately, or we could push up one last time for one last small rally before the big drop comes. I want to break down exactly why. Well, firstly, the previous trends show SPY's top appears to be around 410, and we're getting rejected here, just like historically when we get rejected off the upper trend line, the upper resistance, we tend to see big drops afterwards. Secondly, the economic state is not in the best of places. The Fed is not necessarily, they're not necessarily going to be the main focus for 2023. I think the bigger focus is going to be what's going on with the recession, the data, the earnings recession, and so on and so forth, not to mention global situations. So I believe that eventually we are going to come down. I don't know if it's going to start next week, if it's going to take 2 weeks, but a big drop is coming, in my opinion. And I say this because we're seeing some big shifts in many key indicators. To start us off, first off, the market's starting to come down. Gold is up. The dollar index is near its support zone right here. Notice this? This area right here, these two yellow lines. We got a big bounce and the market crashed the last time this happened. It was right here. This thing is going to bounce very soon, in my opinion, and the market's going to drop as a result of that. The VIX on the daily is starting to bounce. It could keep going up and the market could start crashing. We might see fear start to peak. It's starting already. Now, does this mean we have to just start crashing immediately? The VIX is starting to push up, but it could like trade sideways for a bit if the market holds up because of CPI. But then eventually it's going to keep pushing, going to like the second out. I wouldn't say the second half of December, maybe closer to the end of December, going into January. I expect this to start popping very hard and the market would likely crash during that time frame. So if the market does start crashing, right, Nio is likely going to follow. I believe Nio, and has a lot of gaps to the downside, unfortunately. Excuse me, sorry guys. And if Nio bounces, we do have potential to come back to this 13.4 zone. But like I mentioned previously, guys, the market's not looking good. If Nio cannot hold 12, this thing is going to come very hard to the downside. So please be prepared for that. If the market starts tanking very soon, it's not going to be the best of things for Nio. And I'm not talking about like tomorrow or next week. I think next week where Nio goes depends on CPI and how the market performs. I'm just warning everyone, we have lots of gaps to the downside. If the whole market starts crashing next week or the week after, Nio could get dragged down too. So please be prepared for that. I'm warning everyone now. I'm going to make another video about this tomorrow, but I just want to warn everyone as soon as possible. But anyways, guys, it's basically Friday and I just want the best for everyone. So I'm going to basically end the video from just around here. The last thing the last thing I wanted to say is I really appreciate everyone that tunes into these videos. I'm still extremely bullish on Nio for the long-term future. If you look at some of the big things Nio is doing, we're seeing them actually improving their customer service, their abilities. We're also seeing more and more people approaching this company as time goes on, as more announcements and more uh, eyes go on this company. We can see right here they announced a partnership with Giant Panda National Park, and they're working to actually improve the environment. They're working to actually help pandas in their lives and help maintain the integrity of the ecosystem. I'm very bullish on this company for their vision, for their management, which I think is still relatively great. And on top of that, I think their expansion and deliveries are just going to continue to get better as years go by. And I'm still very, very bullish. So I'm still very bullish long term. I'm talking about years into the future. For the short term, going to 2023, I'm not as bullish on Nio, at least for the start of 2023. I do believe the market's going to see some more downside and we might see a lot of chop here. So please be ready, guys. The earnings recession is coming. It's the second part of this bear rally. It's starting. So please be ready, okay? I just want to make that as clear as possible. Could Nio push next week and bounce? Yes, if things are a little bit better when it comes to CPI, but after that, I don't think this rally is going to last very long because things are still very concerning in terms of inflation and also in terms of what the Fed is going to be doing and how the economy is going to be affected by these rate hikes. The real effects are about to show. Anyways, thank you all for listening. Please be ready. Thank you. Have a great day. Neo to the moon and peace out.